Welcome back to DSPN. We are here with R Squared. Obviously, I'm Donovan Ryan, Mason, my brother. We'll start with the NHL today. We'll start with the Panthers won the Stanley Cup 4-2. Mason? Thoughts?
It did the same thing last year.
Did you?
Except this year's was less interesting.
As someone who closely follows Florida sports, this was not really a huge surprise to me. I thought the Panthers were going to go all the way since the beginning. They're just such a talented team, and this group of guys was so much better than last year's group of guys, in my humble opinion.
And, Mason, didn't you, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think a couple episodes ago you actually predicted this, I think, would be...
Nah, I said the Stars were going to win it all.
Oh, no, you did say the Stars.
Yeah,
No, right.
I thought the Stars were going to win it all, but, the Panthers are just a very well-rounded team. They won it again. They deserved it.
And then we go to the NHL where, Mason, your Flyers screwed it up again. At least so you thought that night. Why don't you tell the viewers what you did?
Well, on draft night, I was hoping that the Flyers would pick James Higgins out of Boston College because they need a center. So, the draft keeps going, and I hope he keeps falling. So he does, and the Flyers are on the clock, and I'm celebrating. Yes, we're going to James Higgins. It's going to be great. And here comes Charles Barkley to announce the pick. And they don't pick him. They pick Porter Martone, a right winger out of Brampton, I think. And I wasn't very happy when they made the pick. But Rick Tocchet wants size for the Flyers. He wants guys that can go out there and just grind and get people like Michkov and tip it the puck. So, we need guys to get the playmakers the puck. So
Tell them what you
guess
did
it's all right.
when Boston picked James Higgins.
Oh, I wasn't watching. I left the house.
You were.
I left the house because I wasn't very happy.
What are your thoughts on James Higgins' fall?
I honestly can't tell you that I know a whole lot about hockey as a whole. It's not my primary sport. I can talk a little bit, not too much. Yeah.
And then Mason, you wanted to talk about the top 3 picks. Who were they?
I don't really know.
You don't remember? All right.
I know Schaefer, and that's about it.
All right, then we'll cut that part out.
Schaefer and Misa, that's about it.
And then Sam Bennett re-signed for 8 years with the Florida Panthers.
Well-deserved and expected. I never thought he was going anywhere. I mean, he really is just the MVP that the Panthers have wanted and needed for a long time. I mean, he's just such a crucial part of this team. He's just so critical to this team's success. I'm not at all surprised that he would want to end his career in Florida.
Yeah, I didn't think he was going anywhere. Him signing that long-term deal is just something that needed to happen for both sides of the deal, honestly.
Then I learned about this today. Mitch Marner, it seems as if Toronto is trying to do a sign and trade with the Vegas Golden Knights for Mitch Marner.
I thought that Mitch Marner was going to get signed somewhere else by a team in free agency. He still might because the market's still open. But a sign and trade would be huge. With those two teams, a lot of star power is going to be going to Toronto.
Definitely a little surprised that he hasn't already been picked up in free agency, but that would be a very interesting scenario.
And then, Mason, you also said that there's a possibility for an 84-game season.
Yes, there's an 84-game season in talks with the NHL where each team's going to play each other at least once, and then it's just kind of what the MLB's doing, but they're just adding 2 more games. So.
And what are your thoughts on that? Do you think they should go to the 84-game season? Because that obviously makes injuries a lot more common.
The thing about hockey is that when you get to the playoffs, everyone wants the cup so bad that they're already playing hurt. Everyone's already playing hurt. They've got guys with, broken toes, broken fingers, playing hurt, and you got to do what you got to do to win the cup, and I don't think that I would want an 84-game season. I would want to still have 82 if I was playing, but...
You?
Yeah, I perfectly agree with him. I mean, if you're the players, you're going to want to push back on that because hockey's a very physical sport, and debatably the most physical sport. Debatably. I still think it's football, but that's a whole different topic there. But, I mean, it puts so much strain on the body. And, even though they do play hurt quite a lot, there's just some injuries that you cannot get over. And we're seeing an increase in injuries in all sports, and the NHL is right up there at the top. So I think it would be dangerous to play more games. I'm still voting for keeping things classic.
That actually leads me into my next thing, where we'll go into the NBA, where the Oklahoma City Thunder won the NBA championship in 7 games with an injury to Tyrese Halliburton. He tore his Achilles, which is the third player in the in the NBA playoffs to tear their Achilles tendon. Alongside that, all wear number 0 alongside Jason Tatum and Damian Lillard. Mason, what are your thoughts on this series that went 7 games? A lot of people didn't think that would happen.
It was a very, very interesting series, and everybody wanted Indiana to win in the end. But the thing that really makes me mad about this is how after the game, Oklahoma City didn't even celebrate. Half the players went home. Like when you think of teams winning a championship, they go to the locker room and they grab those champagne bottles and they start dousing each other with them. They got the goggles on and they're all having fun. Everyone just went home. Nobody, stayed to, douse each other in champagne. They just went home, which I don't like.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, the celebration definitely wasn't there. But for me, as a whole, Game 7 was very underwhelming. I found it a downright terrible game on both sides. I was not thrilled with it. It might be a bold take, but it was not fun to watch at all. It was low scoring, defensive. Neither team could really score against each other. I will say that Tyrese Halliburton, if he had played, the Pacers would have probably won.
Also, over the past couple of weeks, the NBA draft happened as well, with the number 1 draft pick, the Mavericks obviously picking Cooper Flag from Duke. A lot of big things happened. We'll start with Mason. Your 76ers picked VJ Edgecombe.
Yes, they did pick VJ Edgecombe. I thought that was a great pick. Their guard rotation now with VJ Edgecombe, Quentin Grimes, Tyrese Maxey, and Jared McCain is going to be very, very, very fun to watch next year, especially if they're all healthy. But one guy goes down, they've got another guy to just fill back in. It's going to be very good for the Sixers to have a good guard rotation in there, and even their second round pick Johnny Brown is going to help too.
And your Magic picked at number 25 Jace Richardson from Michigan State.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's a great pick. I gotta say, I'm in love with this guy. This kid is so good in college, and a lot of people were like, oh, he was kind of underwhelming during the regular season. But when March Madness came around, this guy stepped up to plate. Michigan State really didn't have that firepower until he came around, and he had them go on a really deep run. I think this is a really great pick for the Magic. But there's another team that I think actually made a better pick than the Magic, and that was my other Florida team, the Miami Heat. At the 20th pick, they got Kasparas Jakusiones. I might not be saying that right. Who knows? But he's such a good player. And he was projected 10th on almost everyone's big board. Most notably, he was 8th on Jonathan Givney's big board of players, and they got him at 20th. That's such a big steal there for Miami, and he's such a big physical guard. He inserts perfectly into Miami's culture and the rotation.
A lot of big things. Mason, you talked about this. The Jazz drafted Ace Bailey, a draft pick that made you laugh a little bit.
Yes, Ace Bailey was being a pansy the entire, few months leading up to the draft, canceling workouts, canceling meetings and everything with every team. Made nobody want him, so now he's going to rot in Utah. What is there to do in Utah? There's a bunch of mountains, and there's a salty lake. That's about it.
What more confuses me about the Ace Bailey pick is kind of the aftermath of it, because just earlier today, we've seen the Jazz get rid of 2 very promising young guards. They've bought out Jordan Clarkson, and they've bought out Colin Sexton. Both of them are gone now, which means they're putting a lot of money and a lot of commitment into Ace Bailey.
And then another one was Dylan Harper did not seem very happy to become a Spur during the draft. Obviously, the son of Ron Harper. What are your thoughts?
I mean, when his introductory press conference with San Antonio, he seemed pretty confident that San Antonio was in it to win it. It may not have been his ideal destination, but I do think it is the correct destination for him. I think he's going to be a great player in San Antonio, and I think the Spurs will be good for many years to come.
Mason?
Yeah, a lot of people said that he was going to go number 2, and he ended up going number 2. He's number 2 in a lot of mock drafts, especially after the whole Ace Bailey thing. But when you're, coming out of college, and if I was getting drafted to the NBA, I would be excited to go to whatever team it was, except for the Knicks. But other than that, I would want to go to any team. I wouldn't care which one. But you honestly have no right to, dictate, you just get in the league and you're like, yeah, I don't really want to be here. Just play basketball, dude. You're living out your dream. Live it out. It doesn't matter who you're playing with. You're a professional athlete. All right, grow up.
And then on to our free agency moves. DeAndre Ayton finalized a contract buyout with the Portland Trail Blazers and will now be a free agent. What do you guys think is the best landing spot for the big man?
Well, to me, the obvious landing spot is in LA with the Lakers. It's the clear one. They don't have a center. They need a big man. And he's not a great big man, but he's better than what they had, which was nothing. So personally, I think Ayton's a great spot there in LA.
Yeah, I think, who else do you have? Dorian Finney-Smith or whatever his name is. And
LeBron.
There's LeBron who plays every position on the floor. But, I'd like to see maybe the Sixers take a shot at him. The Sixers need a center. They can trade Embiid and they just get him.
Did they not just draft a center with Johnny Broom from Auburn?
I mean,
he's technically a power forward, but
yeah.
he can play center. He definitely has the size.
Have you seen his vert?
Okay.
It's awful. It's awful.
Yeah.
It is god awful.
We talked about LeBron. He will officially be coming back for season number 23. He did say in a dinner with his wife, I saw this the other day, that his wife would like him to retire sooner rather than later. Mason, your thoughts?
I mean, when you get to the point where your own child is on a team with you, I think it's probably time to retire. And I think it's time you hang up the shoes and you stay home and you've made enough money.
Take your talents to South Beach.
You've made enough money and you have the legacy where if you retire right now, you're already, one of the greatest to ever do it. So what is he playing for at this point?
I completely agree with Mason on this one.
And then for the next one, the Rockets trade for Kevin Durant. Guys, what are your thoughts on that one? Obviously, the Suns losing a big part of their big three, obviously, after he was injured all the time.
I think that the Suns actually won this trade. Because if you look at KD and his whole thing in, Brooklyn didn't work out. Of course, there are a lot of factors with that. His thing in Brooklyn didn't work out. His thing with the Suns didn't work out. And, he's really showing that he can't do this on his own. And, I'm not saying that he's going to have to do it on his own with the Rockets. He's got different pieces to help him. But he is going to be their biggest piece. And when he's the biggest piece, it hasn't worked. When he was with Golden State, he wasn't the biggest piece, and it worked. When he was with every other team, it didn't work, and he was the guy there.
Well, to me, I don't think either team particularly won the trade because the Rockets, they got rid of one of their promising young talents, one of the guys that could have been the future of the franchise, and they had to make a choice. They went Sengun or Jalen Green, Alperen Sengun or Jalen Green, and they decided off with Jalen Green. So now the Suns have a promising 23, 24-year-old guard who's now in rising. The only reason why this isn't ideal for Phoenix is now they have a logjam right there at guard. They have Grayson Allen, Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, and Jalen Green, and basically they got to get rid of two of them.
And do you think the ones they will get rid of are?
Well, it would be a mistake for them to get rid of Booker because honestly, Booker's he's a fan favorite. It would be a mistake for them to get rid of him. They would lose the backing of the franchise and the fan base. So Booker can't go anywhere. Honestly, the best case scenario for Phoenix might be to trade Jalen Green. Like, they just got him. It might just be a double trade for Phoenix, get some more stock around the forward area, which is a particularly weak spot for Phoenix. So I think they could end up trading away Jalen Green to get some extra stock. Maybe in their future, they could probably use that.
Base?
Yeah, I think, if they have to make a decision to keep two of those guards, I mean, I don't think it'd be that hard to get rid of Grayson Allen. But the problem with, making another selection is that with Bradley Beal, his contract is,
It's
awful.
criminal.
It is
Monster
awful. No one
contract.
wants to take on this contract, so it'd be hard to get rid of him. And Devin Booker, you can't. He's your franchise. He has been your franchise for 10 straight seasons at this point. And honestly, if you had to choose anyone, it'd probably be Jalen Green who would be the most suitable to leave.
I agree. I will say that if they were able to get rid of Bradley Beal, I feel like that is somebody you should also be looking at instead of Jalen Green. But because his contract is so large, you just can't. There's no real way for you to offload him.
Yeah.
Other than cutting him. But I don't.
Even then, that would cut a huge chunk into their cap space there.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that's my real head scratcher of the last month. As a Cavaliers fan, Lonzo Ball was traded to Cleveland for Isaac Okoro, meaning we just traded our only small forward for Lonzo Ball after we have already 2 good guards to begin with. I don't know why we did this. I still can't figure out why. So now our starting small forward is Ty Jerome.
It'll probably be Lonzo. Lonzo's got that size.
It might be Lonzo.
But Lonzo's buns, so we don't know.
Lonzo buns. What are your thoughts?
It's confusing. I mean, if we're being perfectly honest, Isaac Okoro wasn't going to do much for Cleveland anyway, because he's not all that good. So, I mean, honestly, it's getting rid of one bad player for another bad player, and this might be just a trade where Cleveland's offloading cap space. They're trying to take on one-year deals, trying to save up more room. Who knows? They might be gearing up for something else.
I just hope they figure out who's going to play their small forward, because I really hope it's not Ty Jerome. Speaking of another trade, Tingus Pingus, Kristaps Porzingis was traded to the Hawks over the week. R squared. R squared. We'll start with you.
So Boston really is. This is just, to me, they're not quite waving the white flag, but they're getting awfully close. Because trading away Porzingis, and then earlier they traded away Holiday as well, it was very much a kind of, we need to free up space and fast. And they did that. They did trade away. They got rid of Porzingis. They got rid of Holiday. Obviously, the fans are going to be irate at the organization for getting rid of Porzingis because he was a tough guy. He resembled a lot of what Boston really is kind of their vibe. He really fit their culture very nicely. Meanwhile, Atlanta is getting something that keeps them legitimate. It keeps them in the race because now that they still have Trae Young, he's playing great basketball. Dyson Daniels had his big breakout season. And obviously they're going to get back Jalen Johnson next year from injury. Add on Kristaps Porzingis, and you have a very young, very talented team that now has kind of a cornerstone veteran that can lead them to success.
Yeah, I think with the standpoint from Boston is that, as you said, they're almost waving the white flag. Like, their starting 5 will probably have 2 or 3 new faces in it.
Including Anthony Simmons, who they got from
that was a good
Dallas.
trade. That was a good trade for them. They got younger and they took on a less cap space.
Yeah.
I think that was a great trade for Boston.
But when you have newer faces in your starting 5, it's hard to, get a group of guys together like that and, just go out there and expect them to play top 5 basketball next season. And I don't think they will. Like, with newer guys in there, I don't think they'll gel together enough where they're going to play really good basketball. I think they'll be a playoff team, but I don't think they'll play as good as basketball they have the past few seasons.
That brings me to the next trade. Jordan Poole was traded to the Pelicans for C.J. McCollum. His second trade since obviously he was traded from the Warriors. I think he'll look a lot happier here because he definitely didn't look very happy to be in Washington.
I'll say downright idiotic of New Orleans. I don't know what they're doing. It doesn't make sense. I mean, they got younger, but let's be honest here. C.J. McCollum, Jordan Poole. Who's the better player? Even if McCollum gets injured, which he does, he's old. McCollum still plays at a higher level than Jordan Poole has ever played.
Well, we can't say that Jordan Poole has never played at a high level. When he was a very crucial part of that recent Warriors championship, their last one.
I would say crucial is a bit of a stretch. I mean, he was a bench. He was on the bench for that entire time. I mean, he contributed nicely off the bench, but ever since he's been shoved into that starting role, no matter where he's been awful. And now he's going to be shoved into that scenario in New Orleans with the expectations of replacing C.J. McCollum, which is never going to happen.
Yeah.
I think I think this season they really have to bank on Zion Williamson, not getting hurt every 10 games.
He'll eat the table.
But like
Zion Williamson.
Zion's got to step it up if this is the way they're going to go, because obviously this shows that they're willing to get younger, but they're going to keep trying to build around Zion, but Zion has to stop getting hurt for that to even work.
I feel bad for Jordan Poole because he went from going to Golden State and winning a championship there, and then he got traded to Washington, and then he went from bottom of the East to bottom of the West. You gotta feel bad for the guy at this point. It's not even his fault. I mean, he got punched by Draymond, but I mean, what did he really do?
And then the last thing for the NBA, Desmond Bane was traded for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and a ton of picks over the next coming years.
So to me, what I've heard from my contacts in Orlando is very much that the Magic are going all in. That they're this season and next season or bust. As if they don't get that, say goodbye to all of these guys. And what was a little bit more surprising to me was the fact that they decided to buy out Mo Wagner's contract. That was unexpected. I don't think anyone in the Magic organization was truly expecting them to not renew Mo Wagner. Because they're keeping Franz Wagner. He's a key part of the team. They got Jalen Suggs, amazing. Desmond Bane was a huge trade for them. That fills a much-needed hole. And, I mean, they gave away a lot. But, again, that was just proving that they're going all in. They've got themselves 2 seasons now to make it count. Paolo Banchero still playing at a very high level, which brings us to center, where we thought we were going to have Mo Wagner, who played excellently for the first week that he was around last season. And they haven't renewed his contract yet. And no one's quite sure what's going on inside the organization. I'm not sure anyone... Orlando fans even know what's happening there and who their starting center is. Wendell Carter Jr.?
Yeah, I think, with them going, all in for the next 2 seasons or nothing, it really just shows you the price that you have to pay for this to happen. Like, if they don't, if they find themselves stuck in a hole where, they get eliminated in the second round next year and then the year after that they make it to the conference finals and lose, what is your standpoint as the front office? Because you can't just keep trying to run it back when you don't have any of the first-round picks that you traded the years before and have any other pieces that you may have to let go at this point. And, players that they have before are going to be playing better, so they're going to have bigger contracts now. I feel like these next 2 seasons are really going to have to dictate, how the future of that franchise is going to go.
So we'll move on to the NFL now. First, Justin Tucker suspended 10 games. Obviously, we all know what happened to that. We're not going to discuss that here. We don't need to get into the politics. But Mason, how big of a hit is this to the Baltimore Ravens?
I mean, I'm not like those people that say, "Oh, it's just a kicker." It's not just a kicker. Kickers are crucial parts of football. I mean, he didn't have the best year last year, but still. He's their franchise guy, on special teams. And it's hard to just find a rando that you can just pick off the street and, just get a random guy. But that's where the UFL comes in, where you can find guys from, the DC Defenders or the Memphis Showboats, a guy that, was really good there. And
That's crazy.
You can have them
One Dog Tigers, ni hao.
Yeah, you can find guys from there and pull them out from there and have them play 10 games. If they perform well, then you keep them. If they don't, then just offload them.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to hurt because it has to change in the mindset of not only the coaches but of the players. We can't just say get to the 50-yard line and have Justin Tucker make a 75-yard field goal, which he does in his sleep. I mean, he makes those kicks. You can't do that anymore. Now it's kind of like you have to trust in your team ever so slightly more to get the ball farther downfield than they've ever had to in the career of Lamar Jackson, or even since John Harbaugh's taken over.
Yeah, and getting the ball down the field in crucial moments is really hard for Baltimore, so that's not going to help this season.
This next thing is going to not a good thing for Steelers fans, at least in my eyes. My mother's behind the camera pouting. Aaron Rodgers finally signs for the Steelers and is pretty sure it's his last year. I can see my mother going like this behind the camera with her head in her hands. Mason? He finally did something.
They needed a quarterback. They got a quarterback. It's not a good quarterback, but, it's going to be serviceable for this next season. I mean, you got to hope that they get a top 10 pick from this season, and if they don't, then I would be not very happy. But Mike Tomlin is going to find a way to go 9-8, and he's going to make the playoffs again.
And lose in the first round.
And lose in the first round to some, fringe playoff team.
The Steelers have truly been one of the most puzzling NFL teams, period. It's very confusing to me. Even today, I've gotten mixed messages from the Steelers. I mean, obviously, they have Aaron Rodgers. That sounds like a sign that they just need someone. They just need someone to stand there and
throw the football.
Throw the ball.
Yeah.
They would have been fine taking Mike Tomlin and putting him at quarterback. It probably would be better. They're about the same age. So, I mean, you like that one.
The same age.
All right, so the Steelers, and then earlier today, they traded for Jalen Ramsey, which they got older. Which, I mean, Jalen Ramsey, I'm not saying that he's not a good player. I'm a Dolphins fan. I mean, he's a good player. He's serviced us very well in these last couple of years that he's played for Miami. It's a good trade for Pittsburgh. They got Jonnu Smith. Now they have two tight ends, two very good tight ends. They have Moose, and then they have Jonnu Smith. I mean, their offense has all the right weapons. But meanwhile, only about an hour after, I get a report that says that the Steelers have put T.J. Watt on the trading block, and that T.J. Watt that he might get traded in the coming days.
This is breaking news to me, Mason.
You gotta look at your
I've seen it.
My mother over here is terrified.
Yeah. With my mother being horrified, I do think this is a good trade for Pittsburgh, despite them getting older. They offloaded Minka Fitzpatrick, who's not getting any younger, and they got Jonnu Smith, which will definitely help with the versatility with two tight ends. But putting T.J. Watt on the trading block, if they get a deal done and, he gets traded, I don't think anyone's going to like that. I don't think Pittsburgh will like it. I don't think the fans. T.J. Watt himself won't like it unless he goes to the Eagles, which is, a pretty good spot.
All right, Mason, calm down. And then you and I talked about this earlier. Trey Hendrickson still has not been re-signed by the Cincinnati Bengals. Will it happen?
No.
The Bengals are losing their mind. This entire offseason for Cincinnati has been a complete and utter failure. They should be embarrassed. I don't care. I mean, I'm not biased towards Baltimore, Pittsburgh, or Cleveland. I'm just saying they did badly. They did badly. From a sporting perspective, they did terribly. They had a whole bunch of unnecessary drama after their draft. Sign your guy to a 3-year contract. How much is it going to cost? $10 million is all it takes. It doesn't take that much.
Yeah. And, this season for the Bengals has just been an absolute dumpster fire from the start. From the first day, from week 1 of the NFL season, it's just been absolute pain and misery for them. If they lost those last few games that they won, they would have gotten a top pick. And even though if they didn't, they still had good guys, middle of the first round, but, they picked the wrong dude in Shamar Stewart. If you're going to make a selection in the first round, it's got to be a good player, not a bad player. And you got to sign the guy, too. You got to sign the guy.
You got to sign him.
That's a big one. You have to sign him. And pouring all of your money into 2 wide receivers, so you have and a quarterback. You have no defense. You have no offensive line, secondary. It's basically a giant, black hole on the field with, 2 wide receivers and a quarterback.
There's only so many times you can point the finger. This year it got pointed at Lou Anarumo. I don't think he deserved that. But something's got to change in Cincinnati.
I agree. And then on to baseball, finally. Mason, you wanted to say that the NL East is an absolute dogfight at the moment.
Yeah, between the Mets and the Phillies, the NL East it's getting interesting. And, the Braves, kind of underwhelming so far. We'll see how that changes after the All-Star break. And then the Nationals and the Marlins doing Nationals and Marlins things.
Hey, whoa. The Marlins are on a 7-game win streak right now.
Okay.
They've won. They're winning. They haven't lost in a week. That's crazy.
The Marlins, though,
Yeah, but I mean, they played the Giants and the Diamondbacks. I've always said this: the Marlins are bad at being bad, but they're worse at being good.
That is true. The Marlins are the definition of a mediocre baseball team, and it's sad because I wish
proud of it.
I wish that they were better because I think the Miami Marlins are cool.
They are. We have an amazing stadium that's never used.
Yeah,
Cool
it'd be even
jerseys.
cool if they were the Florida
Very
Marlins.
cool jersey.
Even
Cool
if Florida
jerseys, just,
Marlins.
you're eh.
Yeah,
They're just
exactly.
eh.
You're eh. And then on to the other big news. Juan DeFranco is going to prison. I'm not going
That's
to.
big news.
We don't know what was going to happen.
It was
going
gonna happen.
Not
but
when.
It was.
We didn't know
it's
when.
at least it's out there now. Like it's official.
Yep.
So we're not gonna get into why, but
You know why.
if you can look it up yourself.
Yeah.
The Rays are a game and a half behind the Yankees.
This is sad because the Rays are currently playing in the Yankees single A ballpark. If it wasn't for them, the Tampa Tarpons would be playing there right now. But I honestly don't see why they won't just sell the team and move them up to Montreal like they should.
Or Orlando.
They should not stay in Tampa. Because when you go down to Tampa, it's all Phillies fans. It's all Phillies fans down in Tampa and Clearwater. So just sell the team, move up north, and start again where you have fans. But, they're wasting a good season with no fans.
I will say that you'd be surprised at how much George M. Steinbrenner Field has helped the Rays, because the home run distance is significantly less at Steinbrenner Field than it is at Tropicana.
Is it longer than Yankee Stadium? Still?
Yes.
Of course it is.
Yankee Stadium's basically like playing in Williamsport at the Little League ballpark.
I mean, the Rays the equivalent of a triple at Tropicana is a home run at Steinbrenner Field. It's become so easy for them to get consistent runs, and the stolen bases, they're just a fast team. And so we can say that the Rays are a good team, but a good part of it is that they're getting into the rhythm of playing at an easier stadium to play home games at.
Yeah, and the one thing that we will be seeing, in this coming month, and especially in July and August, is how they're going to handle with the heat. The reason why Miami had a stadium indoors and the Trop had a roof, now it doesn't. But the reason why those were indoors is because it's like 1 billion degrees in Florida in the summer. So how they're going to play in the sweltering heat is going to be interesting to see, but I think they can handle it. They're professional athletes, so they got it.
The good news about that is that the Rays actually have the least amount of home games in the second half of the season than any other MLB team. So obviously the MLB did take a little bit of pity on them because they can't account for natural disasters regardless of what Rob Manfred says.
Yeah.
And then, Mason, you told me to put this down here. It just says, the Orioles still suck. You wanted me to put that down.
I have no idea how this. Well, I do know how this Orioles season is so bad. It's because their pitching is awful. Their pitching is. It's bad when your ace is, Zach Eflin. He was maybe the third best pitcher on the Phillies 2 years ago. They've got Zach Eflin, Dean Kramer, and that's. The rest of the guys, they're either not healthy or they're bad.
The only bright spot for their pitching so far has been Charlie Morton, and that's not a good. He's 37 now.
And he's 50.
he's ancient, and the funny thing is that he's playing good enough to get traded to an actual contender this trade deadline. He's playing just good enough that other teams want him.
Yeah,
but not good enough for his team to win games.
And they spent so many years in the dumpster just to have one good season, and now they're back in the dumpster.
And now for our final part, our final segment, player, game, and bum of the month, where basically if you haven't watched the show before, we will give the player we thought was the best of, usually it's a week, but the best player of the month, the best game of the month, and then the biggest bum of the month. So Mason, would you like to go first with your player of the month?
My player of the month, I'm going to give it Sam Bennett of the Florida Panthers, winning the Conn Smythe. Just on that team with a bunch of, great players on it and shining to be the best is really just, a feat in itself. And Yeah, good for him. Won the Conn Smythe and the Stanley Cup, so he gets my Player of the Month.
For the record, I didn't know about this ahead of
I
recording.
apologize.
Player of the Month. Let's see. I kind of was going to say probably just every player on the Panthers. I mean, they destroyed pretty much everyone in their path.
Yeah.
Go Cats.
I'm going to give it to Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. I know a lot of people go, oh, brother, this guy's a foul baiter. But no, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander obviously won NBA Finals MVP, won regular season MVP, and I think personally he deserves it. A lot of people don't, but I think he does. He played great in in all 7 of the games. Shea's my player of the month. Game of the month, Mason?
Game of the Month. I might give it to, I think Game 6 of the NBA Finals was pretty good. Is when, just to see them have life after, being down 3-2, and to just show that they have one more last fight in them to, get to that Game 7 was just a good game. Yeah. High scoring.
Or is this the June month or the July?
The month of June.
The month of June. Okay, then I'm probably going to go Game 3, I believe, of the Eastern Conference Finals. That game where Indiana came back down big time to end up winning in overtime.
Halliburton's choke thing.
The false choke.
Yeah, the choke that definitely was.
Psych!
And last but not least, Mason, who is the biggest bum of the month for you?
I could also give this to Bum of the Year. I'm going to go with the Cincinnati Bengals front office. How they can't sign anybody, and they don't have the money to do so, and it's just awful, the situation they're in.
I'm going to give mine to Ace Bailey because I think he was really acting like a bum in the pre-draft process. So, honestly, he kind of deserves
Rotting in Utah.
In Utah.
To me, the Denver Nuggets, the entire Denver Nuggets organization. The reason why? No draft picks. Couldn't have done anything. They didn't have a single pick.
That's true. Well, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for coming on. Do you want to plug anything before we leave?
Absolutely. Please do subscribe to me over at The Exponential. It's a math joke, and it's also very funny. Come watch me, and also subscribe to these guys because it's been an honor to be here.
His link to his channel will be in the in the description if you're watching on YouTube, and it'll be in the description for everything else as well. That'll be it. Thank you for watching next time.
All right,
See you next time.
Go Birds.